Jake with Politics by Jake, PB&J. And as usual, I'm your political host, commentator, and reporter. And today, I wanted to comment on something that I said on Twitter recently that garnered some opposing views, as things inevitably does. That's the way of democracy. And because of the nature of Twitter, that you really can't post very much on it, it's easy to misunderstand some things that someone says. And I felt like I wanted to create this video, which is actually, I had intended to call the four United States, and that's actually the first thing I'm going to talk about. But I wanted to break it down because when I did the video script on it, it was too long. So it's about understanding the nature of our rights in the Constitution. And I want to talk a little bit about Abraham Lincoln too, and he's going to be coming up in another video, not necessarily this one, because he's a very big part of this. And I really think that Abraham Lincoln should go down, honestly, in my opinion, should go down in history as one of the founding fathers, even though he lived some decades after Washington, Jefferson, Adams, and so on. So here we go. Recently, I made a statement on Twitter, which I knew was going to garner some comments. I knew it was a radical statement, and it is. It will sound like it sound radical. And what it was, I said that basically, number one, Twitter is being mishandled. Number two, to begin with, it is in the hands of an oligarch named Elon Musk. Number three, oligarchs stand in direct opposition philosophically, politically, and economically to the vast majority of Americans, and not only Americans, but honestly, all the people of the world. Number four, I stand for the premise that when you get right down to it, from the days of the ancient Greeks, and that character who, if you look him up on Wikipedia or some search engine, he's identified as the old oligarch. And he opposed the city of Athens when they said they wanted to erect a wall around the city to prevent and protect them from, among others, the Persians, who were at that time a known quantity to the Greeks, and which presented to them an existential danger all their own. And the next point I wanted to make is that oligarchs are all the same. And to use a more street-worthy expression, oligarchs are going to oligarch. Because of Musk, Twitter, which was already a very open forum and is an important forum allowing free speech basically of any kind, has devolved even further and has become, as the saying goes, the habitation of political devils and the hold of every kind of foul, repressive spirit and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird of reactionary, oligarchic, even fascist political type. It should be taken away from him, in my opinion, either by expropriation or in-kind purchase by the government. And I'm okay with the in-kind purchase. They can pay him for it. Twitter was originally created using a lot of federal funding, and as such, the federal government has a legitimate and continuing interest in the doings of Twitter. That Musk's actions rise to the level, this is another point, that Musk's actions rise to the level, the category of malfeasance and nonfeasance and misfeasance, and that Musk's management, or perhaps it should be said his mismanagement of Twitter, creates a legitimate national security issue which just cannot be ignored. And because of all the foregoing, as well as Musk's now well-known stated intention to allow all speech, no matter how perverse, no matter how provably false, and this is where Lincoln comes in, we're going to get to him later, and no matter how existentially dangerous to both the public weal and nationally and internationally, Twitter should be taken away from him. It should be expropriated. That's one thing that could be done. Or the federal government can fairly compensate Musk. I'm fine with that. And it should further going forward be properly managed. This is not being done now. So it can continue to be a valuable free speech resource for the responsible expression of different ideas in the country and in the world at large. And it's hard to get that across in just 240 some odd characters. In consequence of these expressions, I was accused of being various things, and I don't care very much for that. It was just name calling, because I consider the likely sources. I understand the forces that are doing that. But I do think it is important to further explain myself, because I need to make myself and the reasons for my expressions plain. And I think this is a very serious thing. And I think it needs to be addressed, and I think it needs to be talked about regardless of whichever way it goes. And I don't see anybody talking about this in particular, and it is because of this that I create this video. As usual, the comments that I make will not be exhaustive. They're not intended to be this sweeping analysis of the entire situation. I will try to make the major points here and leave any other elaboration on them to be dependent on the response that I get from what I am doing now. So there will be several more videos following with these points. That's all I'm going to say for now. Like I said, we like to keep these things short at PB&J. We like to keep these things to be easily digested. So all I'll say for now is those points are coming. Look at the other videos because they're good. And I will see you in the next video.